Alright guys, good time for another QOD question for Wednesday, August 4. This question was asked by Annette K. Her question is, I opened a traditional IRA account last year. I deposited $14,000 of my money and it has made 8.4%. Not too bad. I just found out I can roll over this money into my TSP in addition to maxing out the $26,000. Should I keep my IRA or roll it over? Or roll it over. I'm a late investor in my retirement. I'm 53 and it just started a couple years ago, so I'm trying to max out my investments. Okay, so let's get into some of these details here. Let's start with, all right, 8 point, well, I guess let's start with the real first point of this question. Should you or should you not roll over your traditional IRA to traditional TSP? Okay, so a couple little things here with terms. Rollover means you're going to move the money from one type of retirement vehicle to another type. So IRA to TSP or TSP to IRA, that's what you would call a rollover. And if you're going from the same type of account, like say from an IRA account to another IRA account, that would be what you'd call a transfer. All right, so good to see you got I think the terminology right there correct. Okay, next. All right, so there are pros and cons to rolling over the money from IRA to TSP, and so there's no really one good answer that I can give. What might work for me might not work so well for you, or vice versa. So I'm going to tell you what the pros and cons are, so you can make your own decision on whether you want to do something like this. Okay, so start with the pros of transferring or rolling the money over. All right, so if you do roll the money over, the number one pro to that would be that you have just one simple place to manage your retirement account. Doesn't really matter too much if you're. Don't worry about the too many eggs in one basket kind of thing. There's plenty of diversification you can still get from TSP, but some people like the simpler management. You only have 5 real funds to work with. Don't talk about L funds. Those are just basket funds that invest in the GFCSI funds for you. So they're only real 5 funds: G, F, C, S, and I. That mind, some people like the more simplistic nature of that, and maybe they only want to have to log into one particular account to do all their nest egg management. Okay, so that would be the number one reason why you'd probably want to roll the money over from IRA to TSP. Now let's talk about some of the cons. All right, so IRA accounts, you tend to have more investment fund options available, so you have more flexibility in maybe be able to put your money into higher performing funds than what you can get out of TSP, because think of TSP funds are at least the stock funds specifically. Those are just stock index funds, and stock indexes themselves are just averages of what goes on within with the groups that you can divide them into between. So the S&P 500, for example, or the C fund, which what C fund follows. The S&P 500 can be broken down into 11 different industrial sectors, and the index as a whole is really just an average of what goes on between those 11 sectors. Some of those sectors are going to outperform the index, and some are going to underperform. So with that in mind, with an IRA account, you can actually invest your money in those specific sectors or industries, whatever that might interest you more, that might be the outperformers. So let's just say if S&P 500 is going to grow at about 10% rate, maybe your outperforming sector might get a 20% gain that same year. So you have that flexibility or ability to invest in those particular, more narrowly focused funds that might give you better performance than what you can get at a TSP. So that'd be the number one reason to not move your money from an IRA to TSP. Okay. Also, you might want to have more flexibility with your withdrawal options as well. And later on in life, particularly when you have traditional aspects, you're going to have the RMDs, or required minimum distributions, by the time you reach age 72. But now on the Roth side, Roth TSP versus Roth IRA, Roth TSP and all Roth 401k accounts in general, actually, they have RMDs. So in other words, when you reach age 72, even though it's a tax-free withdrawal that you're going to make, the RMDs are going to force you to withdraw the money. But on a Roth IRA account, there are no RMDs to worry about. So you can get into your 80s or even 90s and not even touch the Roth IRA money and wait till all your other money nest egg sources are exhausted first before even touching that. So that would be, if we're talking about Roth IRA versus Roth TSP, I would absolutely keep the money in the Roth IRA account. Do not, under any circumstances, transfer that money to Roth TSP. All right, so remember, you can still contribute the max personal amount contribution limit to each type. You can contribute 19,500 to your TSP account, and still contribute 6,500 to an IRA account. Okay, as you see here, Annette did talk about contributing the max 26,000, and I just talked about 19.5, but the detail here, which is something she brought up, she's age 53, so she's over the 50-year-old minimum to do the catch-up contributions. And the catch-up contribution limit is 6,500 for TSP or 1,000 for an IRA account. So add the 19,500 to the 6,500 catch-up, that's 26,000. So she is correct that 26,000 is a limit for her age. All right, so I hope that kind of covers that. I hope I didn't miss any details on that. That's kind of just the pro and con that you might want to consider. Again, it's your mileage will vary, and what works best for you might not be so great for someone else. All right, that's all I have on this one. I'll move on to something else.